The foreclosure notice was still wet when I found it, taped to the front door of my house. My home. The place I'd lived for 22 years. Notice of foreclosure sale. Property located at 2847 North Lincoln Park West, Chicago, Ill. Auction scheduled December 20th unless settled privately. I stood on the sidewalk staring up at it. Victorian mansion, 3 stories, built in 1892. Original crown molding, stained glass windows. Gardens that took 2 people to maintain. The house where I'd thought I'd grow old. It was early November. Cold. The kind of Chicago cold that cuts through your coat and settles in your bones. I'd been avoiding coming here. Staying in a hotel downtown. Paying with a credit card that would max out soon. But I needed to see it one more time before it was gone. Before everything was gone. My name is Lauren Chase. I'm 46 years old. And 6 months ago, I had everything. A thriving real estate development company. A husband. This house. Respect. Money. Security. Now I have none of those things. The company collapsed in April. Chase and Associates. 22 years of work. Of building. Of growing. Gone in 8 weeks. It started with investigations. Federal agents asking questions about permits. About zoning. About money that had been moved through accounts I didn't control. I was vice president of operations. I handled the builds, the timelines, the quality control. Andrew, my husband, handled finances, the deals, the numbers. Turns out he'd been handling them very creatively, borrowing against properties we owned, leveraging everything to fund new projects, taking shortcuts that crossed into illegal territory, bribing officials, falsifying documents. I didn't know. I should have known. But I trusted him. We built the company together. We were partners. Or so I thought. When the investigations started, Andrew panicked. Started pointing fingers. At me. At our CFO. At anyone but himself. The media loved it. Real estate empire crumbles. Chase and Associates scandal. My face on the news every night. Standing outside our office building, looking shell-shocked. Friends disappeared. Clients sued. Employees lost their jobs. And Andrew left. Packed his things one Tuesday morning while I was at my lawyer's office. Took his clothes, his car, half our liquid assets that weren't frozen. Filed for divorce 3 days later. Left me with the debt, the lawsuits. The shame? That was 3 months ago. The divorce finalized last week. Quick, no fault. He wanted out fast. I was too exhausted to fight. I got the house, and the mortgage on it, and the second mortgage he'd taken out without telling me, and the line of credit he'd maxed out. I got everything that was underwater, everything that was sinking, and he got away clean. I heard footsteps behind me. Turned a woman in her 50s, professional, kind eyes, carrying a briefcase. Lauren, I'm Margot Chen. We spoke on the phone. The realtor? The one I'd hired to sell the house? My last asset. My last chance to clear the debts and maybe have something left. Hi, sorry, I was just ... I understand. It's hard. Letting go. We walked up the steps. I unlocked the door. The key stuck. It always did. I'd been meaning to fix it for 3 years. Too late now. Inside, the house felt empty, cold. We'd turned off the heat to save money. I could see my breath. The furniture was mostly gone. Sold to pay lawyers. What remained was covered in sheets. Ghosts of a life I used to live. Margot walked through slowly, taking notes, measuring rooms, looking at the bones of the place. It's beautiful. Historic landmark. Prime location. Right buyer will pay a premium. How much? I'd list it at $4.5 million. Hope for 4. That should clear your debts. Maybe leave you with something to start over. 4 million. Upon a time, that would have seemed like a fortune. Now it just seemed like barely enough. We walked through each room. Living room where we'd hosted parties. Kitchen where I'd made coffee alone every morning. Dining room where Andrew told me he was leaving. Master bedroom where I'd slept alone for the last 5 years of our marriage. Office where I'd built business plans that were now worthless. Each room was a memory. Each memory hurt. I have a showing tomorrow, Margot said as we finished the tour. Interested party. Very interested. Deep pockets. Who buyer prefers anonymity for now. But they're serious. Cash offer potential. What do they want it for? Didn't say. But they asked specifically about lot size, foundation, structural integrity. Questions you ask when you're planning something specific. After Margot left, I sat alone in the empty living room. On the floor, back against the wall. Tried to remember what it felt like to be happy here, to feel successful, valuable, important. Couldn't remember. It felt like a lifetime ago, like a different person entirely. My phone rang, number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. But these days, every call could be important. Or terrible. Hello, Miss Chase. This is James Rivera. I'm calling on behalf of Julian Mercer. We're scheduled to view your property tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mr. Mercer wanted me to confirm you'd be available. Julian Mercer. The name sounded familiar. Couldn't place it. Yes, he's looking forward to seeing the property. Thank you. He hung up before I could ask anything else. That night, I Googled Julian Mercer, Billionaire, founder and CEO of Mercer Biotech, medical technology, diagnostic equipment, research funding. Forbes estimated his net worth at $3.2 billion. Photos showed a man in his mid-40s, tall, dark hair, serious expression, always in suits, always alone. Articles mentioned a deceased wife, donations to children's hospitals, a son. No scandals, no drama. Just success, quiet, steady success. The kind of person who had everything I'd lost. The next day, I arrived at the house early. Tried to make it presentable. Opened curtains, turned on lights, made it look less like a mausoleum. At exactly 2 p.m., a black town car pulled up. A man emerged. Julian Mercer in person looked like his photos. Expensive suit. Controlled movements, eyes that took in everything and revealed nothing. I met him at the door. Margot arrived 30 seconds later. Mr. Mercer, this is Lauren Chase. Lauren, Julian Mercer. We shook hands. His grip was firm, brief, professional. Ms. Chase, thank you for accommodating the viewing. Of course, Margot started the tour, pointing out original features, historic significance, architectural details. Julian listened, nodded. But his questions were different than typical buyers. What's the lot size? 0.3 acres. Zoning, residential. But variance possible for institutional use. Foundation. Original stone. Reinforced in 1995. He wasn't interested in the house. He was interested in the land. We finished the tour in the backyard. Small garden. Brick patio. View of the park across the street. It's a beautiful house, Julian said, but I need to be direct. I'm not interested in preserving it. I felt something sink in my chest. What do you mean? I intend to demolish it. Build something new. I hope that's not a problem. Demolish. I looked at Margot. She looked as surprised as I felt. Yes, the location is ideal for my purposes, but the structure isn't. I'd need to start from foundation. What are you building? A research facility, medical center, for rare diseases. It's a personal project. Something in his voice. A crack in the professional facade. Pain underneath. I see. I understand if that's difficult. But I wanted to be honest. I won't waste your time if you're looking for a buyer who'll preserve the house. I looked up at the house. At the place I'd lived for 22 years. Where I'd built a life that turned out to be as fragile as plaster walls. No, it's fine. I just need to sell it. What happens after is up to the buyer. He studied me. You're sure? I'm sure. We went back inside. Sat in the empty living room. Margot pulled out papers. I'd like to make an offer, Julian said. 5.2 million. Cash. Close in 30 days. Demolition begins immediately after closing. I stared at him. 5.2 million. Yes, 700,000 over asking. The urgency is mine. I need to begin construction immediately. The premium reflects that urgency. Margot's eyes were wide. This was more than we'd hoped for. More than I needed to clear debts. actually have money left. Can I ask why the urgency? Julian was quiet for a moment. Then, I'm building this facility for my son. He's sick. We're running out of time. Every day matters. Simple words, but heavy. Carrying weight I couldn't see but could feel. I'm sorry, thank you. Do you need time to consider the offer? How much time do I have? 48 hours. After that, I'll need to look elsewhere. I can't wait longer than that. After he left, Margot grabbed my hands. Lauren, this is incredible. You'll clear everything and have over $500,000 left. You can rebuild. I nodded. Should have felt relieved, excited, but I just felt empty. That night I couldn't sleep. Went through boxes of old papers, organizing what remained of my life. Found a manila folder. Medical records. From 10 years ago, routine physical. A note from the doctor caught my eye. Patient blood type, O Bombay phenotype. Extremely rare. Approximately 1 to 250,000 prevalence. New, clinical significance. Note for records. I remembered that appointment. The doctor explaining, rare blood type, mostly found in India. Elsewhere extremely rare. But nothing to worry about. Just interesting. I'd never thought about it again. Just a fact, like my height or eye color. Now I stared at the paper, reading it over and over. Bombay phenotype. 1 in 250,000. Julian's words echoed. Research facility for rare diseases. I didn't know why. But something told me this mattered. This piece of paper. This rare blood. I put it in my purse. Told myself I was being ridiculous. It was just a coincidence. Just an interesting detail. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about selling a house. That Julian Mercer and I were connected in a way I didn't understand yet. I signed the papers the next morning. $5.2 million for the house where I'd lived for 22 years. Where I'd built a life that turned out to be as fragile as the plaster walls. Julian's assistant sent the contracts. Professional, efficient, cold. But that night, as I packed the last boxes, I found that medical file again. The one about my blood. And something told me this wasn't just about selling a house. Something told me our paths were crossing for a reason I didn't understand yet. I just didn't know that reason would change everything. 30 days went faster than I expected. Closing day was December 15th, cold gray. The kind of day that feels like an ending. I'd met Julian at my attorney's office, downtown, 30th floor, view of the lake through floor-to-ceiling windows. Iris Caldwell was already there, my attorney, but more than that, my friend, one of the few who'd stayed after everything fell apart. Lauren, she hugged me. How are you feeling? Like I'm selling the last piece of my old life. You are. But you're also buying your future. $400,000 after debts. That's a fresh start. Julian arrived exactly on time. Expensive coat, leather briefcase. That same controlled expression. We sat across from each other at the conference table. Iris on my side, Julian's attorney on his papers, spread between us, deed transfer, purchase agreement, disclosures. It took 20 minutes, signatures, initials, witness signatures. Julian wrote a check, $5.2 million. His handwriting was neat, precise. I signed the deed. My handwriting shook slightly, but I signed done. The house was his now. Demolition starts Monday, Julian said as we gathered papers. That fast? Yes, we've lost too much time already. Something desperate in his voice. I noticed but didn't ask. Wasn't my business anymore. Outside the building, December wind cut through my coat. Everything I owned was in a storage unit in Aurora. I was living in a hotel near O'Hare. Small room, anonymous. Nothing familiar. Starting over at 40-6. Iris walked me to my car. What will you do now? I don't know. Find an apartment. Look for a job. Rebuild somehow. You will. You're stronger than you think. I didn't feel strong. I felt empty. I watched Julian's town car pull away. Watched him disappear into traffic, going to save his son. Using my house, my land, my past to build his future. I drove back to the hotel, sat in that small room, stared at the bank app on my phone. After paying off debts, Creditors, legal fees, $400,000 remaining. Enough to survive, not enough to rebuild an empire, but enough for a fresh start. Relief washed over me. Debts cleared. Name clearing slowly. Maybe a fresh start was possible. A week later, I was at a coffee shop near the hotel, trying to figure out what came next. A newspaper sat on the table. Someone had left it. I almost didn't look. But the headline caught my eye. Mercer Biotech founder races against time. I picked it up. The article was about Julian, about his company, about the research facility he was building in Lincoln Park. But it was about more than that. Julian Mercer, billionaire founder of Mercer Biotech, is in a race against time to save his only child. His son, Liam Mercer, 14, is battling a rare form of aplastic anemia and needs a bone marrow transplant urgently. I kept reading. All compatible donors have been screened and eliminated. Liam needs a donor with extremely rare genetic markers. The family is searching for someone with Bombay phenotype, blood present in approximately 1 in every 250,000 people. My chest tightened. Mercer is building an emergency research facility in Chicago, focused on rare blood disorders, hoping to find both a cure and a compatible donor. Every day matters, Mercer said in a statement. We're running out of time. There was a photo. Julian and Liam in a hospital room. The boy was thin, pale, but smiling. Julian's hand was on his shoulder. The love was evident. So was the pain. I stared at that photo for a long time. This was why. The urgency. The demolition. The $700,000 over asking price. Time is money when your child is dying. I pulled out my phone. Searched Bombay blood type bone marrow transplantoplastic anemia. Results flooded the screen. Medical journals, research papers, articles about rare genetic matches. Bombay phenotype, critical for certain rare transplant matches. Genetic compatibility, extremely specific. Donors extraordinarily difficult to find. I searched more. Liam Mercer, aplastic anemia donor needed. More articles, news coverage. The family's desperate search. Appeals for testing. The near impossibility of finding a Bombay phenotype donor. My heart was racing. I went back to the hotel, dug through my purse, found the medical file from 10 years ago. Patient blood type. O Bombay phenotype. Approximately 1 to 250,000 prevalence. 1 in 250,000. I stared at that paper, at those words. At the possibility forming in my mind. Could I be compatible? Was it possible? I called the number from the article. Mercer Biotech main office. Mercer Biotech. How may I direct your call? I need to speak with Julian Mercer. It's about Liam. About a potential donor. I'm sorry, Mr. Mercer isn't taking calls. But I can connect you with our donor screening department. My name is Lauren Chase. Tell him it's Lauren Chase. He'll take the call. Pause. Hold please. 2 minutes of hold music. Then, Ms. Chase, Mr. Mercer will see you at his office at 4 p.m. today. Can you make that time? Yes, I'll send you the address. I had 3 hours. I showered, changed into the one professional outfit I still owned, navy suit. Simple, conservative. Tried to calm my racing heart. Julian's office was in the loop. Glass tower. 40th floor. Mercer Biotech occupied 3 floors. Reception was modern, cold. Expensive art on the walls. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Lauren Chase for Julian Mercer. The receptionist made a call. 2 minutes later, a woman in her 30s appeared. Ms. Chase. I'm Rebecca, Mr. Mercer's assistant. He's waiting for you. I followed her through hallways, past conference rooms, laboratories. People in white coats. Julian's office was at the end. Corner office. Windows on 2 sides. View of the lake and the city. He stood when I entered. Surprised. Confused. Double quotes Ms. Chase. My assistant said you called about Liam. I did. Please sit. Can I get you anything? Water. Coffee. No, thank you. I sat across from his desk. Pulled the medical file from my purse. I read the article. About your son. I'm so sorry. Thank you. But I don't understand why you're here. I pushed the file across his desk. 10 years ago, I found out I have a rare blood type. Bombay phenotype. I didn't think much of it then. It didn't matter. But when I read that your son needs someone with specific genetic markers, I thought maybe it could matter now. Julian picked up the file, read it. His hands were shaking slightly. You have Bombay blood. Yes. I can provide updated records. I can take any tests you need. I don't know if I'm compatible. But I want to find out. I want to help if I can. Julian sat down heavily, like his legs wouldn't hold him anymore. Do you understand how rare this is? We've screened thousands of people, registered donors, international databases. Nobody has matched. I understand, and I might not match either. But I have to try. Why? The question hung between us. Why? I repeated. We barely know each other. I owe you nothing. Exactly. I took a breath. I lost everything this year. My business, my marriage, my home. Everything I thought defined me. Everything I thought made me valuable. And through all of it, I kept asking myself, what's the point? What's my value if I have nothing? Julian listened. Not interrupting. Just listening. Maybe my value isn't in what I own. Maybe it's in what I can give. Your son is 14 years old and he's dying. If I can help, I have to try. Not for you, for him, for me. To prove that I still matter. That I'm worth something beyond buildings and bank accounts. Julian's eyes were wet. He blinked rapidly, trying to maintain control. If you're compatible, you'd be saving his life. You understand what that means. The procedure. Bone marrow donation is painful, invasive. Recovery takes weeks. It's not simple. I understand. I've researched it. I still want to do it. We need to test you immediately. Dr. Song, our hematologist, can see you today, right now if you're willing. I'm willing. He made a call, spoke quietly, hung up. She'll meet us at Northwestern Memorial. 20 minutes. We took his car. Rode in silence through downtown traffic. He kept glancing at me, like he couldn't believe I was real. At the hospital, we went straight to the hematology department. Dr. Vivian Song was waiting. 40s efficient, kind eyes behind glasses. Ms. Chase, thank you for coming. Mr. Mercer explained the situation. I need to draw blood. Run initial tests. If the Bombay phenotype is confirmed, we'll move to HLA typing and compatibility screening. How long until we know? Preliminary results in 48 hours. Full compatibility panel takes a week. And if I'm compatible, then we start preparation immediately. Liam doesn't have much time. She drew 6 vials of blood, labeled them carefully, sent them to the lab marked urgent. After, Julian walked me through the pediatric ward, to Liam's room. The boy was in bed, thin, so thin, pale, fur in his arm, monitors beeping softly, but when he saw his father, he smiled, brave, beautiful. Hey Dad, hey buddy, how are you feeling? Tired but okay. Who's this? Julian looked at me. This is Lauren Chase. She's the lady who sold me the house. Liam's eyes lit up slightly. The mansion. Dad said it was really cool. It was. I hope you'll like what he builds there. He says it's going to help kids like me. Kids with weird blood. I smiled. That's right. Are you here to visit me? Sort of. I'm here to take some tests, to see if I might be able to help you. Help me how? Julian squeezed his son's hand. We'll talk about it if the tests come back positive. No point getting hopes up yet. Okay, Liam looked at me. Thank you for helping us. For selling Dad the house. He said you were really nice about everything. Simple words from a dying child, but they broke something in me. I made it to my car before I started crying. 40-8 hours felt like 48 days. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, just waited for my phone to ring. It rang at 3 p.m. on day 2. Dr. Song. Lauren, I need you to come in. We have preliminary results, and I'd rather discuss this in person. Can you come to the hospital? I was there in 20 minutes. Julian was already in Dr. Song's office. He stood when I entered. Looked like he hadn't slept either. We sat. Dr. Song pulled up results on her computer. The preliminary markers are very promising. Lauren, you're a potential match for Liam. We need to run more comprehensive tests. But this is the best result we've seen in 2 years of searching. Julian's face did something. Complicated, relief, hope, fear, all at once. What's next? I asked. Full HLA typing, more blood work, physical exam, medical history. If everything confirms, we schedule the donation. But Lauren, I need you to be absolutely certain. This is a significant medical procedure. It's safe, but it's not easy. I looked at Julian. Saw a father desperate to save his son. Saw someone who understood what it meant to lose everything that mattered. I'm certain. Let's do this. That evening, I went back to my hotel, sat in that anonymous room, tried to process what was happening. A knock on the door. I looked through the peephole. My heart sank. Andrew. I opened the door. What are you doing here, Lauren? I heard the news. You're donating bone marrow to Julian Mercer's son. How do you know that? It's starting to leak to the media. Woman who lost everything becomes potential lifesaver. It's a compelling story. His voice, that calculating tone I used to miss. Now I heard it clearly. You're here for the optics. What? No, I'm here because I'm proud of you. And because I think we should talk about us. I made mistakes. No. What? You left me with nothing, Andrew. You blamed me publicly. You took everything that wasn't nailed down, and you ran. Now you want to come back because I'm doing something good, because it makes you look better by association. No, Lauren, I still love you. You loved what I could give you, my work, my stability, my name, my reputation, but you never loved me, and I'm done pretending. That's enough. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was wasting 22 years on you. Now please leave. I closed the door. Locked it. Stood there shaking. But not from fear. From strength. For the first time in months, I felt strong. The full compatibility results came back 5 days later. Perfect match. 1 in millions. I was the only person in the world who could save Liam Mercer's life. The transplant was scheduled for January 15th. 6 weeks away. 6 weeks to prepare. 6 weeks for the media to find out. 6 weeks for the world to discover the story. Woman with golden blood saves dying teen. But I wasn't doing this for the media. I wasn't doing it for recognition or redemption. I was doing it because for the first time in my life, I understood something fundamental. My value wasn't in what I'd built or owned, it was in what I carried inside me, not just in my blood, but in my choice to give it. I woke up to my phone ringing at 6 a.m. Didn't recognize the number. But these days, every call could be important. Hello, Ms. Chase. This is Rebecca from Mr. Mercer's office. I'm calling to let you know the media has the story. It's going to break this morning. Mr. Mercer wanted to warn you before you see it. What story? About you. About the donation. Someone leaked it. I'm sorry. I turned on the TV. Flipped to the news. There it was. My face. Julian's face. Liam's hospital photo. Woman who lost everything becomes only hope for dying teen. The anchor was talking. Lauren Chase, 46, recently lost her real estate empire in a public scandal and divorce. Now she's making headlines for a different reason. She's the only known compatible bone marrow donor for Liam Mercer, son of billionaire Julian Mercer. They showed my old company logo. Photos of the mansion. Footage of Andrew leaving our house with boxers. Then photos of Julian and Liam. The research facility under construction. Chase, who has an extremely rare blood type known as Bombay phenotype, will undergo transplant surgery in 6 weeks. Doctors say she may be Liam's only chance at survival. I turned it off. Sat on the hotel bed, staring at nothing. My phone started ringing. Texts flooding in. Reporters, old acquaintances, people I hadn't heard from in months. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. Within an hour, there were news vans in the hotel parking lot. Reporters in the lobby. I was trapped. I called Julian. He answered on the first ring. Lauren, I'm so sorry. We don't know who leaked it. I'm sending security to get you out of there. Where will I go? Somewhere safe. Somewhere private. Just pack. They'll be there in 20 minutes. 2 men in suits arrived. Former police, by the look of them. They escorted me through a service entrance. Put me in a black SUV with tinted windows. We drove for 40 minutes. To a neighborhood I didn't know. Quiet, residential. Trees lining the streets. A townhouse, 3 stories. Brick, beautiful. Mr. Mercer owns this property, one of the men explained. You can stay here as long as you need. It's secure, private. No one will bother you. Inside was fully furnished, modern, clean, a guest room on the 2nd floor already prepared. My phone rang. Julian, are you there? Yes. This is too much. I can't accept you can. You're doing something incredible for my family. The least I can do is make sure you're safe. Please, stay there. Let me help you. I agreed. Too tired to argue. The next 6 weeks became a blur of medical appointments. Dr. Song scheduled everything. Blood tests, physical exams, immunizations, consultations with the transplant team. We need you in optimal health, she explained. Any infection, any complication, could delay the transplant. And Liam doesn't have time for delays. I ate carefully. Slept as much as I could. Avoided crowds. Avoided getting sick. But I visited Liam twice a week. He was getting worse. Anyone could see it. Thinner, more tired. The chemo they were giving him to kill his existing bone marrow was brutal. It has to destroy everything, Dr. Song explained. To make room for your cells. But it's hard on him. One afternoon in late December, I sat with Liam in his hospital room. He was reading, or trying to. Kept falling asleep mid-page. Does it hurt? He asked suddenly. The donation. Yes. But it's worth it. How do you know? You haven't done it yet, because you matter. Because everyone deserves a chance to live. Because I can help. And that makes it worth any pain. He looked at me. Really looked at me. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. I'm getting to know you. And I like what I see. You're brave. You're kind. You deserve to grow up. To have a life. My mom died when I was 10, cancer. I remember thinking it wasn't fair. That she shouldn't have to die. But she did anyway. I'm sorry. Dad changed after that. He got really focused on work. On building things. Making money. I think he thought if he could control everything, nothing bad would happen. But then I got sick, and he realized he couldn't control this. He loves you very much. I know. He's scared. I can tell. Even when he pretends he's not. I'm scared too. Really, you seem so brave. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing it anyway. Liam smiled. I like that. Julian started joining us for these visits. At first he stayed in the background, quiet, observing, but gradually, he opened up one evening in early January. We were in the hospital cafeteria. Liam was sleeping. We'd come down for coffee. I need to thank you, Julian said. Properly. Not as a transaction. As a father, you don't need to thank me. Liam's a good kid. He is. He's all I have left. After Sarah died, I threw myself into work. Built bigger. Made more money. Thought that was protecting him. But when he got sick, I realized none of it mattered. The buildings, the money, the success. None of it could save him. What was she like? Your wife, Sarah. She was ... She was like you, actually. A giver. Always thinking about others. Always helping. She volunteered at hospitals. Organized fundraisers. Made everyone feel seen. She sounds wonderful. She would have liked you. Would have been grateful you're helping Liam. I wish I could have known her. In a way, you do. She's in Liam. The way he sees the world. The way he cares about people. That's all her. We sat in silence for a moment. The cafeteria hummed around us. Other families. Other crises. Can I ask you something? Julian said. Of course. What made you call? After you read the article, most people would have thought about it. Maybe felt bad. But then moved on with their lives. What made you actually pick up the phone? I thought about it. I spent 22 years building something I thought mattered. A company. A reputation. A life. And when it all fell apart, I realized none of it was real. None of it made me valuable. I needed to find something that did. Something real. Helping Liam is real. That matters. It matters more than you know. Christmas came. I spent it at the hospital with Julian and Liam. Liam was too weak for visitors, too vulnerable to infections. But we celebrated quietly in his room. I brought books. Julian brought a gaming console. Liam opened them slowly, smiled. "This is the weirdest Christmas ever," he said, "but also kind of the best." "How?" I asked, "because I'm not alone. Last 2 Christmases, I was alone. Dad was working, or worried, or both. But this year, we're together. All of us." Julian's eyes filled with tears. He turned away, pretending to look out the window. But Liam saw. "So did I, thank you, Lauren," Liam said quietly, "for being here, for helping us, for showing up. There's nowhere else I'd rather be." The media attention intensified. Woman with Golden Blood became my nickname. Articles, interviews, requests for my story. I ignored most of them, but Iris convinced me to do one interview with a reputable journalist. To control the narrative. "People are interested," she said. "You can either let them make up stories, or you can tell the truth." So I did one interview, told my story. The company collapse, the divorce, finding out about my rare blood type, choosing to donate. The journalist asked, "Why? Why give so much when you've already lost so much?" "Because giving is how I found myself again. I lost everything, but I found something more valuable. Purpose, meaning, the knowledge that I matter not because of what I own, but because of what I can give." The interview ran. The response was overwhelming, supportive, kind, people sharing their own stories of loss and recovery. But Andrew saw it too. He showed up at the townhouse. Julian's security stopped him at the door. I watched from the window, saw him yelling, saw security escorting him away. He called my phone, left voicemails. "Lauren, please, let me be part of this. Let me support you. We can get through this together." I blocked his number. Julian asked if I wanted him to handle Andrew legally. Restraining order? Something official. No, he's not worth it. He's desperate for relevance, for attention. I won't give him either. 2 weeks before the transplant, I had my final medical clearance. "You're in excellent health," Dr. Song said. "We're ready. Liam's ready." January 15th, 6 a.m. Surgery is scheduled for 8 hours. You'll be under anesthesia. We'll extract marrow from your hip bones. About a liter. Then we'll process it and infuse it into Liam immediately. Will it work? The compatibility is exceptional. The best I've seen in 20 years. If anything can save him, this will. That evening, Julian took me to see the construction site. The research facility. On my old property. The mansion was gone. Demolished. In its place, a modern building was rising. Glass and steel, beautiful, purposeful. The Sarah and Lauren Mercer Institute, Julian said, for rare blood disorders, research, treatment. Hope you named it after me. After you and Sarah, the 2 women who taught me what really matters. Julian, I know, you don't want recognition, but you deserve it. You're saving my son's life. That deserves to be remembered. We stood in the cold January evening, looking at the building, at the future being built on my past. "Can I tell you something?" Julian asked. "Of course. I knew about you before you called, about your blood type. 2 months before you contacted me, my team identified you through the rare blood registry. They found your old medical records. Knew you might be compatible." I turned to him. "You knew?" "Yes. I was trying to figure out how to approach you. You'd just lost everything. How could I ask you to give more? But then you called, and I realized I didn't need to ask. You were already willing. You bought my house knowing I might be able to save Liam. I bought your house because I was desperate. I would have done anything, paid anything, to save my son. But Lauren, once I met you, once I saw who you were, it stopped being about manipulation. It became about hope. You chose to help. I didn't force you. I processed this. Feeling strange, manipulated, but also understanding. Did you mean what you said? I asked. Before the tests. About falling in love with me. Every word. I love you. Not because you're saving Liam. Because you're you. Because you showed me how to be vulnerable again. How to trust. How to feel something besides fear. I need time. To think. To understand what I feel. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. The night before the transplant, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed at the townhouse, staring at the ceiling, thinking about tomorrow. About the needle they'd insert into my hip bone. The marrow they'd extract. The pain. The recovery. About Liam, 3 miles away. In isolation, waiting for cells that might save his life. About Julian. About what he'd told me. About the manipulation that wasn't quite manipulation. About the love that might be real. About Andrew. About the empire I'd lost. About the house that was gone. About everything I thought I was. About everything I'd become. I realized something. I was being torn down too. Just like the mansion. Everything I thought I was had been demolished. But unlike the house, I was being rebuilt. Not into what I was before. Into something better. Something real. Tomorrow I would give Liam my marrow. But he'd already given me something more valuable. A reason to keep living. I woke up at 4 a.m. on January 15th. Couldn't sleep anymore. Too nervous. Too aware of what was coming. Nurses arrived at 5. Started preparing me. For line in my arm. Fluids dripping. Pre-medication to calm my nerves. It didn't really work. I was still terrified. At 5:30, there was a knock on my door. Julian. He looked like he hadn't slept either. Dark circles under his eyes, hair uncombed, but his expression was soft. Grateful. How are you feeling? He asked. Scared, ready. Both. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. Let's see if it works. He sat on the edge of my bed. Took my hand. It will work. I feel it. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he said something that made my heart stop. I'm falling in love with you. I stared at him. The sedation was starting to kick in, making everything feel distant, dreamlike. Tell me that when I wake up, I managed, when I can think clearly. He smiled, squeezed my hand. I will. They wheeled me to the operating room at 6:15. Dr. Song was already there. Scrubbed, ready, her team around her. We're going to take good care of you, she said. This procedure takes about 2 hours. You'll be completely asleep. When you wake up, it'll be over, and Liam will have his best chance. Okay, any questions? Just one. Will it hurt? She was honest. Yes, when you wake up for a few days, but we'll manage the pain. You'll be okay. The anesthesiologist put a mask over my face. Breathe normally. Count backward from 10. 10, 9, 8. ... I thought about Liam, about Julian, about second chances. 7, 6, 5. Everything went black. I woke up in recovery. Everything hurt. My hips, my back, my legs. A deep bone-level ache that made me gasp. Lauren. It's okay. You're okay. Iris was there, holding my hand. You did it. They got everything they needed. Liam. They're infusing your marrow into him right now. It'll take weeks to know if it grafts. But you did your part. I closed my eyes. Too tired to do anything else. The next few days were a blur of pain and medication. Julian visited every day, bringing updates. Liam's doing well. No rejection signs yet. The doctors are cautiously optimistic. When can I see him? Another week. You need to heal first, and he's in isolation. But soon. On the 3rd day, when I was more alert, he sat beside my bed, looked at me seriously. You said something before the procedure, I said. Or I dreamed it. I said I'm falling in love with you. You didn't dream it. Julian, you're grateful. You're emotional. Your son is this isn't gratitude. I've been drawn to you since the day we met. Your strength, your resilience, the way you chose to give when you had every reason to take. I've been closed off since my wife died. But you opened something in me. I'm not the same person I was 3 months ago. I don't know who I am anymore. Neither do I. Maybe we can figure it out together. I wanted to say yes, wanted to lean into this, but I was scared. Everything was happening so fast. Can we take this slowly? I asked. As slowly as you need. The next 3 weeks were critical. Liam's body either accepting or rejecting my marrow. Me healing. Both of us waiting. Julian arranged for me to move from the hospital to a recovery apartment nearby. Not charity. Just practical. I needed to be close for follow-up appointments. I visited Liam twice a week as soon as I was cleared. He was slowly improving. Color returning to his face. Energy increasing. Promising signs. I can feel it working, he told me one afternoon. Your cells are fixing me. Your body is doing the work. My cells are just helping. Still, thank you. We played card games. I taught him gin rummy. Julian joined us in the evenings. We'd order takeout. Eat together in Liam's room. Like a family. A makeshift, strange, beautiful family. One evening in late January, I was back at the recovery apartment. Resting. When security called. Ms. Chase. There's a man here, Andrew Chase. He says he needs to speak with you. Tell him I'm not available. He's refusing to leave. He's yelling, should we call the police? Let me come down. I took the elevator, found Andrew in the lobby. Security on either side of him. He looked desperate, angry. Lauren, finally, we need to talk. No, we don't. You're all over the news. Woman with golden blood. The hero who saved Mercer's son. You're famous. And you're throwing your life away on him. What do you want, Andrew? I want us to capitalize on this. Book deals, interviews. Your story is worth millions. Our story. How we built together, fell apart, and you rose from the ashes. It's gold, Lauren, pure gold. I stared at him, seeing him clearly for the first time, really clearly. Our story. You left me. You blamed me for your crimes. You took everything that wasn't nailed down. There is no our story. I made mistakes, but I've changed. No, you haven't. You're still the same man who only sees people as transactions, as opportunities. I was an opportunity to you. Now I'm a different kind of opportunity. But I'm not interested. You're making a mistake. Mercer is using you. Mercer is helping me heal. And I'm helping his son live. That's not using. That's loving. Something you never understood. I turned to walk away. Andrew shouted after me. You'll regret this. You'll come crawling back when he's done with you. I stopped, turned back. No. I regret wasting 22 years with you, but I don't regret leaving. Security escorted him out. I went back upstairs, shaking, but not from fear, from strength. 100 days after the transplant was a critical milestone. If Liam showed no rejection by then, the marrow had likely taken permanently. We all gathered in Dr. Song's office on day 100. Me, Julian, Liam. Iris had come for support. Dr. Song pulled up test results on her computer. She was smiling. Liam's blood counts are excellent. The marrow has fully engrafted. Genetic testing shows Lauren's cells are producing healthy blood. Lauren, you saved his life. Julian's face crumpled. He pulled Liam into a hug. Both of them crying. Relief and joy and overwhelming gratitude. I'm going to live. Liam asked through tears. Barring complications. Yes, Dr. Song said. You're going to live. I watched them. Father and son. Holding each other. Crying together. And I felt something I'd never felt before. Pure, uncomplicated peace. This was why. This was the purpose. This was the value I'd been searching for. Not in what I owned, but in who I saved. A week later, Julian took me to see the construction site. The building was nearly finished. Modern, beautiful, glass and steel, catching the late February sun. The Sarah and Lauren Mercer Institute for Rare Diseases, Julian said. Opening in April, state-of-the-art research facility. Treatment center. Hope for families like mine. It's beautiful. I want to name it after you. The Lauren Chase Institute. No, Lauren, name it after Liam's mother. After Sarah. The woman who gave you Liam. The woman who would have wanted him saved. Julian was quiet for a moment. Sarah would have loved you. I wish I could have known her. In a way you do. You're doing what she would have done. Giving, helping, loving. without expecting anything in return. We walked through the construction site, hard hats required, workers everywhere. The building coming together. Something new rising from the ruins of my old life. Can I tell you something? Julian asked. Something I should have told you before? Of course. When my assistant researched you after you called about donating, we ran a standard background check for any donor. And we found something. What? Records from your blood tests, from 10 years ago, when you discovered your Bombay phenotype. The clinic that tested you is part of a national rare blood registry. Your information was in the system. We'd already identified you as a potential match 2 months before you called. I stopped walking. You knew. When you bought the house, you knew I might be compatible. Yes, I was trying to figure out how to approach you. How to ask someone who'd just lost everything to give more. Then you called. And I realized I didn't need to ask. You were already willing to give. I felt strange, manipulated, used, but also understanding. You manipulated me. The high offer, the urgency. You were positioning. No, I was desperate. I would have paid anything, done anything, to save my son. But Lauren, once I met you, once I saw who you were, it stopped being about manipulation. It became about hope. You chose to help. I didn't force you. Did you mean it? What you said about falling in love. Every word. I love you. Not because you saved Liam. Because you saved me too. You showed me how to be vulnerable again. How to trust. How to love. I looked at him. This man who'd bought my house. Who'd needed me. Who'd maybe manipulated me. Who'd definitely saved me. I need time to think. To understand what I feel. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. That night, I sat alone in the recovery apartment. Thinking about Julian's confession. About the manipulation that maybe wasn't manipulation. About the love that might be real. About Liam. About watching him get better. About the bond we'd formed. About my old life. The empire I'd built. The house that was gone. The marriage that had failed. About Andrew. About how clearly I could see him now. How small he seemed. About value. About worth. About what really mattered. I'd lost everything. My company, my home, my husband, my reputation. Everything I thought made me valuable. But I'd gained something more important. Purpose, meaning, love. Not romantic love. Not yet. But love for Liam. For the life I'd saved. For the person I'd become. I picked up my phone. Texted Julian. Thank you for telling me the truth. I'm not ready for everything yet. But I'm ready to try. He responded immediately. That's all I need. We'll figure it out together. I lay in bed that night thinking about tomorrow. About the next day. About the future I was building. Not the future I'd planned. Not the empire I'd wanted. But something better. Something real. I'd given Liam my marrow. But he'd given me something more valuable. He'd given me myself back. Not the person I was before. Someone better. Someone stronger. Someone who understood that value wasn't measured in buildings or bank accounts. It was measured in lives saved. In love given. In showing up when it mattered most. I fell asleep thinking about the institute. About the name on the building. About Sarah, who I'd never met but who I honored with every breath Liam took. And about Julian. About the love that was growing. Slowly, carefully, built on honesty and pain and hope. I didn't know what would happen next. Didn't know if Julian and I would work. Didn't know who I'd become. But I knew I was ready to find out. 6 months later, spring arrived in Chicago. I stood in the garden of the Sarah and Lauren Mercer Institute, watching Liam play soccer with other kids. Kids who were in treatment. Kids who were recovering. Kids who had hope now. He looked healthy. Strong. Like a normal 15-year-old. You'd never know he'd been dying a year ago. Iris walked up beside me, handed me a coffee. Look at him. Hard to believe 6 months ago. ... Double quotes I know. What about you? How are you? Better. Different. Building something new. With Julian. Maybe. We're taking it slow. But yes, there's something there. She smiled. You look happy. Really happy. Not the fake happiness you had before, real happiness. She was right. I was happy, not in the way I'd been before. That happiness had been built on sand, on things that could be taken away. This was different, deeper, built on something solid. The Institute's grand opening was in 2 weeks, April 15th. Exactly 1 year after my company had collapsed. The symmetry wasn't lost on me. Julian had asked me to speak at the opening. I'd said no at first. Too much attention. Too exposed. But he'd convinced me. People need to hear your story. Not for you. For them. For everyone who's lost something and thinks they'll never recover. So I'd agreed. Written a speech. Practiced it alone in my apartment. The apartment Julian had helped me find. Small, modest. Mine. I'd started working at the Institute. Part-time coordinating the patient support program. Using my business skills in a new way. Helping families navigate treatment. Connect with resources. Find hope. It wasn't running an empire, but it mattered more. Liam jogged over, sweaty, grinning. Did you see that goal? I did. You're getting good. Coach says I might be able to try out for the school team next year. If I stay healthy, you will. You are healthy. He hugged me. Quick, teenage boy brief, but meaningful. Thanks, Lauren. For everything. You're welcome. He ran back to the game. I watched him go. This kid I'd saved. This kid who'd saved me. The opening ceremony was beautiful. Hundreds of people. Donors. Medical professionals. Families affected by rare diseases. Media. Politicians. The building gleamed in the April sun. Modern. Hopeful. A testament to what could be built from loss. Julian spoke first. Composed, emotional. This institute exists because of love. The love of my late wife, Sarah, who taught me what really mattered, and the love of Lauren Chase, who gave my son his life back. He introduced me. I walked to the podium, looked out at the crowd, saw faces I knew. Iris, Dr. Song, Margot, the realtor who'd sold my house, Father Ramon from the church I'd started attending, and I saw faces I didn't know. People who'd heard my story. People who were struggling. People who needed hope. I took a breath, started speaking. 6 months ago, I lost everything. My business, my marriage, my home, everything I thought defined me. I stood outside my house with a foreclosure notice and wondered what I was worth, if I was worth anything at all. Pause. Let it sink in. Then I met Julian Mercer. He wanted to buy my house, demolish it, build something new. I thought I was just selling a building. But I was selling my past, making room for a future I couldn't imagine yet. I told them about discovering my rare blood type. About learning Liam needed a donor. About choosing to help. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because I needed to prove something. To myself. That my value wasn't in what I owned. It was in what I could give. My voice cracked slightly. I steadied it. The transplant was painful. The recovery was hard. But watching Liam get better, watching him live, I understood something fundamental. We spend our lives building things. Companies, homes, reputations. And we think those things define us. But they don't. What defines us is what we do when everything else is gone. How we show up, how we love, how we give. I looked at Julian. At Liam standing beside him. At the building behind me. This institute is built on the ruins of my old life. On the lot where my house stood. Where my marriage died. Where my empire crumbled. And I'm grateful for that. Because sometimes you have to tear everything down to build something that actually matters. Applause. Standing ovation. I hadn't expected that. After the ceremony, I found Andrew in the crowd. I hadn't invited him, but he'd come anyway. Stood at the back, watching. He approached me, careful, tentative. Lauren, that was a beautiful speech. Thank you. I'm sorry for everything. I know it's too late. I know you've moved on, but I needed to say it. I looked at him. This man I'd spent 22 years with, who I'd loved, who'd destroyed me. Who'd tried to use my redemption for his own benefit. I appreciate that, Andrew, I do. But an apology doesn't undo what you did. It doesn't change who you are, I know. I just wanted you to know I see what I lost. I see what you've become. And I'm sorry I wasn't the person who could appreciate it. Goodbye, Andrew. Goodbye, Lauren. He walked away. I watched him go. Felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just indifference. True closure. That evening, there was a small celebration at Julian's house. Just close friends. Iris, Dr. Song, Margot, a few others. Liam. We ate dinner, laughed, celebrated the institute, celebrated life. After dinner, Julian and I walked in his garden. Late spring evening, warm, flowers blooming. You were amazing today, he said. Your speech, everything you said. People were crying. I just told the truth. That's why it mattered. We sat on a bench overlooking the garden, the house behind us. Lights glowing warm. Can I ask you something? Julian said. Of course. 6 months ago, you said you needed time to figure out what you felt. Have you figured it out? I had. I'd been thinking about it for weeks, months, processing everything that had happened, everything I'd lost and found. I needed to find myself first, I said, to rebuild who I am. I couldn't be with you until I knew who I was without you. And who are you? Someone who's still learning, still growing, but someone who knows what matters. Someone who's ready to try again, to love again. If you're still interested. I've been interested since the day you walked into my office with that medical file and offered to save my son's life. I was a mess that day. You were beautiful. You are beautiful. Not because of what you've been through, because of who you chose to become. He kissed me. Gentle, careful, like I was something precious. And maybe I was. Not because I was fragile, but because I was valuable, in ways that had nothing to do with money, or status, or success. I love you, he said. I love you too. Simple words, but they meant everything. Over the next few months, my life continued to take shape. I reconciled with my siblings. My sister visited. We talked, really talked, about our childhood, about our parents, about the ways we'd failed each other. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you lost everything, she said. I'm not. I needed to lose it. To find this. My brother called. I saw the news. The institute. I'm proud of you, sis. Really proud. Small reconciliations. Not fixing everything, but opening doors that had been closed. Father Ramon became a regular presence in my life. Not just spiritual guidance, friendship, wisdom. Someone who'd seen people at their lowest and knew how to help them climb. You've found your purpose, he told me one day. Not in building buildings, in building hope. The institute thrived. Families came from across the country, seeking treatment, seeking answers, finding both. I coordinated support groups, connected families, shared my story when it helped, stayed silent when it didn't. Liam started sophomore year, healthy, thriving, volunteering at the institute on weekends, talking about becoming a doctor. I want to help people like you helped me, he said. You already do. Just by being here. By being alive. Julian and I built our relationship slowly, carefully, not rushing. Not pretending the complications didn't exist. His late wife, my failed marriage, Liam, the fact that we'd met through crisis, but we worked through it. With honesty, with patience, with love. 1 year after the transplant, we stood together in the institute atrium. A bronze plaque was being unveiled. I hadn't wanted it, but Julian had insisted. In honor of Lauren Chase, the woman with golden blood, who proved that true value lies not in what we own, but in what we give. I stared at it, uncomfortable with the attention, with the permanence. I didn't do this for recognition. I told Julian, I know. That's exactly why you deserve it. Liam stood beside me, placed his hand on my shoulder. You saved my life. But you did more than that. You showed me how to live. How? By example. You lost everything, and you didn't give up. You gave more. That's courage. Tears rolled down my face. I didn't try to stop them. You're going to make me cry at my own plaque unveiling. Good. You deserve to cry. Happy tears this time. That night, Alone in my apartment, I wrote in my journal. Something I'd started after the transplant. A way to process, to remember, to understand. 1 year ago, I lost my home, my marriage, my business, my identity. Everything I thought made me valuable. And I was right. Everything I thought made me valuable didn't, because my value was never in those things. It was inside me. In my blood, yes. But more than that, in my capacity to give, to love, to show up, to try again. I paused, thinking about Andrew, about the empire we'd built, about how hollow it had been. Andrew took my company. The bank took my house. But nobody could take who I was. And when I finally understood that, I found myself, not the self I built, but the self I was born to be. I looked around my small apartment, at the simple furniture, the books, the photos of Liam, of Julian, of the Institute, at the life I'd built from nothing. My phone buzzed. Julian, I love you. See you tomorrow. I texted back. I love you too. See you tomorrow. Simple words, profound truth. I closed my journal, stood at the window, looked out at the Chicago skyline, at the city where I'd lost everything and found more. They called me the woman with golden blood. But my blood wasn't what made me valuable. My choice did. The choice to give when I had nothing left. The choice to love when I'd been betrayed. The choice to rebuild when everything had been destroyed. I'd lost my empire, but I'd found myself, and that was worth more than anything I'd ever owned. Sometimes you have to fall to remember you can fly. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what really matters. I fell, I lost, I found, and I would do it all again. Because the woman standing at this window, looking at this city, living this life, she was real. She was whole. She was valuable. Not because of what she had, but because of who she was. And that was enough. That was everything. If this story touched you, if you've ever lost everything and wondered what you were worth, remember this. Your value isn't in what you build. It's in what you give. It's in who you are when everything else is stripped away. I lost my empire, but I found myself, and that was worth more than anything I'd ever owned. Sometimes you have to fall to remember you can fly. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what really matters. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you are valuable. Not because of what you have, but because of who you are.